Let's say for a moment that you are a courtier and that it's your first time in the imperial capital. You are attending court as a representative of your clan, and you are admiring the opulence and magnificence on display. You are surrounded by the symbols of imperial power and glory. You are also surrounded by courtiers and representatives of all clans great and small, their kimonos a riot of varying colors. Earthen yellow and flaming orange, green and purple, blue, turquoise and white, black and crimson red. If the emperor is holding an audience and not seated upon the chrysanthemum throne itself, he will be seated upon a two-tiered dais, clad in robes of jade green and gold. He will be seated on the top tier, of course, for he is the emperor, the son of heaven, the biggest man in the empire. But the lower tier will also be occupied. To the emperor's left will be a samurai clad in the turquoise and white of the Crane clan. To his right, a warrior in the brown and yellow of the Lion clan. Lion and Crane, war and diplomacy, right hand, left hand. There are 7 great clans, all equal in strength, all descended from divine kami. But it is pretty clear in terms of practical politics that the Crane and Lion are indisputably the first among equals. However, if you happen to be standing close enough and squint a little, you might notice a third figure on the lower tier, behind the emperor and just visible over the shoulder of the Crane representative. This unobtrusive samurai will be clad in midnight black and crimson red, his face either partially or completely obscured by a mask. While the lion and the crane bask in the reflected glory of the emperor, this third samurai remains in the shadows, watching, assessing, judging. You'd best hope that the eyes behind that mask are not focusing on you, for if they are, you might have just come to the attention of possibly the most dangerous and the most secretive of all the great clans of Rokugan, the Scorpion clan, the third hand of the emperor, his underhand. As one might expect of a clan known for harboring secrets and being sneaky, the history of the Scorpion clan is shrouded in mystery. Very little is actually known about how they started, and so their origin story is actually the shortest of the great clans. All that is known for certain is that, like the other great clans, the Scorpion traced their origins back to one of the siblings of the first Hantei, Bayushi, the twin brother of Shiba, founder of the Phoenix clan. Back in the days when the kami still lived in heaven with their father, the moon, and their mother, the sun, Bayushi was the first to notice that something was wrong with their father, Onotangu. No one else knew it at the time, but the lying darkness, essentially the nothing from Neverending Story, was poisoning Onotangu's mind against his own children, convincing them that if he didn't destroy them, they would in turn destroy him. Bayushi spoke of their father's deteriorating state with Shiba and Hantei, suggesting that perhaps the kami ought to do something about him, but was sharply upbraided by Hantei for daring to speak treasonously against their own father. Later, when Onotangu went mad and swallowed all of his other children, including Bayushi, and Hantei was forced to save them by cutting open their father's stomach, I can't imagine that Bayushi was the sort of person to let his youngest brother live that down. At the very least, he would have given Hantei a well-deserved, "I told you so." Bayushi's story doesn't really pick up again until after the fall from heaven, the arrival in Rokugan, and the beginning of the Tournament of the Kami. Bayushi had made it to the 3rd round, having bested his sister Shinjo. But the next round would be against Shiba, his twin brother and the sibling he had always been closest to. So the future founder of the Scorpion was having some doubts as to what he should do. And that was when Shinsei appeared. Yes, for once, Shinsei appears to one of the kami before the war with Fu Lang. Seeing Bayushi's consternation, and perhaps having some foreknowledge of his eventual destiny, Shinsei decided to tell the kami a story. The story of the Frog and the Scorpion. Now, the Frog and the Scorpion is a fable that's said to have originated in Russia in the 20th century. Like nearly all fables, it's short and sweet and has a moral lesson. In this case, it's something along the lines of avoid certain people because they really can't change who they are. Once upon a time, a scorpion went up to a frog and asked if he would carry him across the river. The frog was understandably reluctant, for scorpions are vicious things who sting whatever comes within range. And so the frog asked the scorpion, "How do I know that you won't sting me while I'm carrying you across the river?" The scorpion said, "Now why would I do that? If I stung you midstream, we would both sink and drown. I would be killing myself as much as killing you." Deciding that this was a reasonable argument, after all, who would deliberately act against their own survival in such a way, the frog agreed. But, just as the frog was carrying the scorpion across the river, the scorpion stung the frog. As the frog began to sink, he asked the scorpion, "Why did you do that? You've killed us both." The scorpion replied, "I can't help it, it's my nature." But you see, this is the actual real-world version of the story. In Legend of the Five Rings, the version that Shinsei tells Bayushi has one crucial difference. After the scorpion has stung the frog, and the frog asks the scorpion why he did it, in Shinsei's version, the scorpion replies, "Little frog, I can swim." It is said that upon hearing the conclusion of the fable, Bayushi laughed aloud, for he had suddenly understood the point of Shinsei's story and the wisdom he hoped to impart to him. Now he knew his purpose. And with that knowledge in mind, Bayushi made 3 decisions that would forever define him and the clan he would one day name the Scorpion Clan. The first decision was to wear a mask. Back then, it was a simple swatch of cloth covering the lower half of his face, and some versions of the story claim that Bayushi did this to hide the smile that remained fixed on his face after hearing Shinsei's tale of the scorpion and the frog. But the Scorpion Clan believed that the mask served a greater purpose. From that day forward, Bayushi ensured that no one, not even his own siblings, would be able to guess his thoughts, so long as his face was at least partially obscured. Ever since, masks have been the most famous and noteworthy tradition of the Scorpion Clan. Apart from family, loved ones, and intimate friends, a scorpion never shows his or her face to anyone. Just as Bayushi wore his first mask to conceal his purpose from those around him, the Scorpion Clan of the present generation wear masks for that same purpose. Bayushi's second decision was to deliberately lose his match against Shiba. No one suspected this, of course. Everyone present just believed that Shiba had been the better fighter and come out on top. But Bayushi had lost on purpose, ensuring that from that day forward, his siblings would always underestimate him. And thus, by extension, the other great clans have always underestimated the Scorpion, to their cost. One unintended consequence of this decision was the fact that since Bayushi had lost in the 3rd round of the Tournament of the Kami, the number 3 had since become an unlucky number among the Scorpion Clan. Bayushi's 3rd decision would have the most profound and lasting of consequences. When the tournament was concluded and Hantei was declared the first emperor of Rokugan, Bayushi swore his loyalty along with the others. But then, he spoke to his imperial brother saying, "Hantei, I will be your enemy." With that single declaration, Bayushi had ensured that from that day forward, everyone else in all of the empire, from the great clans to the minor ones, would always dislike and mistrust the Scorpion Clan. Only Hantei had the wisdom to understand what his brother had intended by that statement, and he would make sure to pass that wisdom on to his son, and his son would pass it on to his own successor, and so on and so forth. Thus, to the confusion of all the other great clans, the emperors of Rokugan have always placed what seemed like an incredible amount of trust in a clan that would become infamous for being untrustworthy, dishonorable, and ambitious. Why in the name of heaven would the emperors trust the Scorpion Clan at all? The answer, I'm afraid, has to wait for later in this video. For now, let's quickly wrap up the early history of the Scorpion Clan. Hantei, gifted to Bayushi, lands in the southern central region of the new Emerald Empire, bordering the Crane Clan to the east and the Crab Clan to the south, with the spine of the World Mountain Range separating them from the lands of the Unicorn and Lion clans to the north. Bayushi, of course, founded his own great clan, and chose as his symbol the Scorpion, in honor of the wisdom Shinsei had imparted to him that day of the tournament. Only one incident of note occurred in those years of relative peace between the Tournament of the Kami and the beginning of the war with Fu Lang, and that was the first meeting between Bayushi and his closest, most faithful follower, Shosuro. At some early undefined point in the history of the Empire, a pair of Kenku, crow men with potent magical powers, named Mukashi and his brother Takashi, decided that they were going to do something about the lying darkness, the force of nothing that was literally trying to destroy the universe simply because it hated it. They thought that perhaps there was a way to guide the darkness onto a more productive, less apocalyptic path. And so, using all of their potent magical ability, the two Kenku broke off a piece of the lying darkness and gave it a form and will of its own and named it Shosuro. Originally, Mukashi and Takashi's plan was to have Shosuro take the place of Shuro, a young girl that had gone missing from her village days ago. This way, Shosuro could grow up among humans and learn to appreciate them and life in general. How this might persuade the lying darkness to stop hating all of existence is never really explained, and it's kind of irrelevant too, as Shuro was rediscovered by her family days before the Kenku could put their plan into motion. Mukashi and Takashi are never mentioned again after this point, so I can only presume that they just decided, well, screw it, and just left, effectively abandoning Shosuro to her fate, whatever that may be. And so there was Shosuro, a girl with the ability to shapeshift, all by herself, with no knowledge of who she was, where she had come from, or what her purpose was. Yeah, this really does smack of bad writing on the part of Alderac Entertainment Group, doesn't it? Oh well. Anyway, more than anything else, Shosuro wanted to know what her purpose was. What was she here for? What was she supposed to do? At some point, she heard these stories about the kami, these divine beings that had fallen from heaven to rule over men. She knew that one of them, a certain Bayushi, happened to be nearby, and she began to think that maybe he could provide the answers she sought. As is so frustratingly obvious by now, the first meeting between Bayushi and Shosuro is very scanty on details. All we know is that Bayushi noticed Shosuro disguised as a stable boy when he was staying at a geisha house, though of course he didn't know about her ability to shapeshift just yet. He discovered that soon afterwards, when Shosuro managed to sneak into his chamber and actually get a drop on the kami, putting a knife to his throat. The details pretty much end there. All we know is that afterwards, Shosuro became Bayushi's most devoted follower, his right-hand woman in all matters. What's more, she eventually became the kami's lover as well. From that point forward, Bayushi and Shosuro were always together, even when Bayushi spoke to his other kami siblings like Shiba or Togashi. It was Togashi, in fact, informed by his gift of foresight, that warned Bayushi that one day Shosuro would have to leave him and follow her own destiny. Though, once again, as always, we're not told exactly what that destiny is. All that we are told is that Bayushi was angered by his brother's words and refused to heed them. Bayushi and Shosuro remained utterly inseparable up until the war with Fu Lang, and it was during this time that they established the Bayushi and Shosuro families respectively. This of course has led to a bit of speculation, as it's never explicitly confirmed that Shosuro and Bayushi actually had any children. We are told only that when Bayushi eventually disappeared, he was succeeded by his son, Bayushi Ubane. The identity of Ubane's mother is utterly unknown. We are also told that at some point Shosuro took on 3 students, and while of course they couldn't be shapeshifters like her, she did teach them the art of disguise and deception. In her honor, these 3 students took her name, thus establishing the Shosuro family. And when Shosuro herself eventually disappeared, the eldest of these students, Shosuro Kinjiko, would succeed her as leader of the Shosuro family. And while there are some rumors that Kinjiko was in fact the child of Shosuro and Bayushi, there are other sources that claim that Kinjiko was in fact older than Shosuro herself, making such a thing impossible. Once again, the story of the Scorpion clan is shrouded in secrecy and lack of information, and frankly, trying to piece out the truth about this particular great clan leads to nothing but frustration. Alas, Bayushi was ultimately unable to give Shosuro the answers to the questions that she sought about herself and her purpose. But that did not diminish her loyalty and devotion to him. He knew her true nature, and accepted and trusted her where many others would not. Out of gratitude and affection for her lover, she would forge for him the ancestral sword of the Scorpion clan, Itsuwari, falsehood, an appropriate name for a weapon of the Scorpion clan. And with that, the story of the Scorpion clan skips ahead a few years to the war with Fu Lang. As always, the details are conspicuously lacking. We really only know of 2 events concerning the Scorpion during the war prior to the Day of Thunder. The first was that casualties among the Scorpion clan were especially heavy, and that secondly, it was during this time that they gained their second great family, the Yogo family. Yogo, its namesake founder, had originally belonged to the Phoenix clan. He was the husband of Asako, who would go on to found her own primary family within the Phoenix clan, and had learned the arts of the Shugenja from Isawa himself. In the 36th year of the Empire, Yogo won an impressive victory for Rokugan against the forces of Fu Lang when he successfully undid the wards protecting one of Fu Lang's great fortresses, the Castle of Murder, enabling the samurai armies to destroy it. In retaliation, Fu Lang laid upon Yogo a terrible curse, that he was one day destined to betray those he loved most. Besides his allegiance to the Phoenix clan, Yogo was terrified of what that might mean for his wife Asako and their son Sagoten. Alas, despite being the masters of magic, none of the great Shugenja of the Isawa family were able to undo Yogo's curse, and so he fell into despair and was on the very verge of committing suicide when Bayushi approached him and asked if he would instead join the Scorpion clan. Yogo was shocked that Bayushi would make such an offer, for surely the effect of Yogo's curse would rebound upon Bayushi if he were to become Yogo's lord. To which Bayushi merely smiled and said, "But Yogo, you do not love me, and you do not love the Scorpion clan." Persuaded by the Scorpion Kami's argument, Yogo defected from the Phoenix clan to the Scorpion clan, something for which his wife and son would never forgive him. Some in fact have argued that this was in fact the very betrayal that Yogo had been hoping to avert. Others claim that Yogo's betrayal came later. After joining the Scorpion clan, Yogo eventually married and had 3 daughters. He decided that the eldest should succeed him, despite the fact that his youngest was the most talented in the arts of the Shugenja. As it turned out, Yogo's designated heir did indeed perform poorly as leader of the Yogo family, and some have argued that this, the passing over of Yogo's more talented younger daughter in favor of her elder sister, was the betrayal. Of course, as always, the details are forever obscured in mystery, and we'll never know for sure exactly when Yogo finally fulfilled his curse. All we do know is that Yogo's curse would be passed on from generation to generation. Every member of the Yogo family, and even some of the Asako family, are said to live under the curse that one day they will betray those they care for the most. Unsurprisingly, therefore, there is a law among the Scorpion clan saying that it is forbidden for one of the Yogo family to marry a fellow Scorpion. And that is how the Scorpion clan gained a Shugenja family. At last, when Shinsei appeared before Hantei and proposed his desperate plan of 7 champions to join him in a final attack on Fu Lang, Bayushi shocked everyone present by refusing to name a champion. Too many Scorpion clan members had already died in the war, he argued. He explicitly refused to sacrifice even one more life, even to achieve victory. Whether you agree with Bayushi's reasoning or not, his refusal further blackened the reputation of the Scorpion clan forever after. From that day forward, the other clans, especially the martial ones like the Lion and the Crab, would look down upon the Scorpion as cowards. Bayushi wished to preserve the lives of his remaining followers, but Shosuro thought that Shinsei had the right of it. When Bayushi explicitly forbade any member of the Scorpion clan from accompanying the sage on his perilous mission, Shosuro chose to defy him and join Shinsei as the Scorpion Thunder. Shinsei and the other Thunders praised her for her brave willingness to accompany them on what was essentially a suicide mission, but Shosuro made it clear that she had no intention of dying. Her lover and her lord had forbidden any further Scorpions from dying. Come what may, Shosuro was determined to come back alive. And as it turned out, she did. As is typical by now with the history of the Scorpion clan, the details of what Shosuro did on the Day of Thunder are effectively non-existent. Some sources claim that she wasn't even present for most of the final battle against Fu Lang. When the battle was finally over and the essence of Fu Leng had been sealed away in the Black Scrolls, only Shosuro herself, Shinsei, and the Crab Thunder Hida Atarasi remained alive. Surrounded by hordes of vengeful Shadowland monsters, the trio had no choice but to flee for their lives. As they ran towards the relative safety of the southern border of the Empire, it soon became clear that they simply weren't going to make it. The demons had only to capture them and regain the Black Scrolls and open them, and Fu Leng would return and the war would go on. Atarasi sacrificed his life to buy Shinsei and Shosuro time to escape, but it was simply not enough. And then, unbeknownst to Shinsei, a little voice began whispering in Shosuro's ear. The voice of the Lying Darkness, the entity that had created the world and now sought to unmake it. The one that had driven Onotangu, the Lord Moon, to try and destroy his children, and thus precipitating all the events that had followed. The Lying Darkness not only promised to save Shosuro from the enemies that pursued her, but it also promised answers. Answers to the questions of who she was, where she was from, and why she was here. Answers that no one, not even her beloved Bayushi, had been able to provide. Shosuro would not have been a true scorpion if she hadn't been suspicious of the voice in her head, but the desperation of the situation soon decided her, and, despite her reluctance, she made a pact with the Lying Darkness. And to its credit, the Lying Darkness actually held up its end of the bargain. It not only revealed the truth of Shosuro's origins to her, that she had once been a part of the Lying Darkness, but it also, according to some sources, helped the kami Shiba, without his knowing, find Shinsei and Shosuro in time to save them from a horde of demons led by a shape-shifting monster known as the First Oni. Shiba was successful at slaying the First Oni and saving Shinsei and Shosuro, though it came at the cost of his own life. And so it was that Shosuro became the only one of the Seven Thunders to survive the final battle with Fu Leng. She returned to the Empire with 3 objects: a satchel containing the 12 Black Scrolls, an Obsidian Mirror, and one of her hands replaced by a hand seemingly made of the same obsidian. Because Shosuro had been the only one of the Thunders to return, and because Bayushi demanded it, the Scorpion clan were entrusted as the guardians of the Black Scrolls. The Obsidian Mirror, an artifact that enabled its user, if sufficiently powerful enough, to see what was going on anywhere in the world at the present as well as show visions of the past, would become an heirloom of the Shosuro family, passed down from daimyo to daimyo. And finally there was the Obsidian Hand, another artifact that would be kept by the Scorpion clan for generations. Because Shosuro was its first user, it was often known as Shosuro's Hand. But what no one, including Shosuro herself, knew at the time was that the Obsidian Hand was in fact the severed hand of Onotangu. After Hante had cut open his father's stomach to free his other siblings, and they had tried to jump down from heaven through a hole in the sky, Onotangu had attempted to grab Hante and Fu Leng in order to stop them. Hante had severed his father's hand with his own sword, and the hand, along with Fu Leng, had fallen into Jigoku, where the hand itself had become a powerful artifact of evil. And while the rest of Rokugan didn't know this just yet, there was definitely something off about Shosuro after her return that caused many to suspect her and by extension the Scorpion clan. Shosuro still considered herself to be a loyal servant of the Empire and of Bayushi, but in order to deflect suspicion from the Scorpion clan, she faked her own death a few weeks after the Day of Thunder, reappearing in the form of a young man and Shugenja named Soshi. Bayushi and Togashi, leader of the Dragon Clan, were the only ones to know the truth. Under her new identity, Shosuro created the Soshi family, making the Scorpion clan the only clan in Rokugan, apart from the Phoenix, to have more than one Shugenja family. In the meanwhile, there was still that agreement Shosuro had made with the Lying Darkness. Every few years or so, Shosuro would select a few promising students from the rapidly growing Shosuro family, and take them to a secret dojo where she would touch them with the Obsidian Hand, infusing them with a small fragment of the Lying Darkness's power, and also its corrupting taint. In what seems like yet another case of bad writing on the part of Alderac Entertainment Group, it took Shosuro a couple of decades of doing this to realize that this Faustian bargain she'd made with the Lying Darkness might not have been such a good thing after all. And really the only reason that she ultimately turned against it was the realization that the lying darkness's corruption was also overtaking her and trying to reabsorb her back into itself. If you've ever seen the episode Growing Pains from Batman the Animated Series, you might find this plotline familiar. Realizing just how much of a mess she was in, Shosuro went to Togashi and begged him for help. The kami of the Dragon Clan did everything he could in order to save her from the growing taint, but was ultimately unable to do so. In the end, he chose to seal Shosuro's spirit away inside a crystal prison, promising that he would dedicate his life to finding a way to save her from the taint. And so it was that Shosuro disappeared for good from the sight of living men in Rokugan in the year 82. Togashi's promise of saving her from the corruption of the lying darkness was of little comfort to Bayushi, who was devastated by the loss of the woman he loved. And so, the following year in 83, Bayushi disappeared, leaving behind only a mask, the sword Itsuwari, and a short written message saying, "I have lost her." According to some sources, Bayushi's spirit inhabits a cave deep beneath the walls of Kyuden Bayushi, the castle and capital of the Bayushi family and Scorpion clan, awaiting the day when he may finally be reunited with Shosuro. As for Togashi, he ultimately failed to fulfill his promise to Shosuro, disappearing and being pronounced dead in the year 101. And that ends the early history and founding of the Scorpion clan. Now let's briefly talk about what the individual families of the Scorpion clan do before we move on to what really makes the Scorpion clan truly fascinating, what the clan as a whole does, and its purpose within the hierarchy of Rokugan. The Bayushi family is most commonly compared to the families of the Crane clan, in that they do not specialize in one particular discipline. Apart from magic, a member of the Bayushi family can aspire to any number of professions. They can be samurai, they can be courtiers, they can also be spies and assassins. In fact, it was their namesake founder, Bayushi, that established the Imperial Intelligence Network, enabling the Scorpion clan to spy on the enemies of the Empire. Although Hantei, knowing how much power he would be entrusting in the Scorpion clan with this, warned Bayushi that if the Scorpion ever betrayed the Emperor, then the entire clan, and especially Bayushi's lineage, would be annihilated. For this, and because of the fact that their family was founded by a literal god, the Bayushi have always been the leaders and public face of the Scorpion clan. Next is the Yogo family, who are especially reclusive even for members of the Scorpion clan. This is mostly down to two things. The first of which is that after the Day of Thunder, the Yogo family was entrusted with the protection of the Black Scrolls. As such, the Yogo family Shugenja tend to specialize in protective warding magics and seals, which of course have been used for other purposes, but were mostly developed in order to make sure that no one ever opened the Black Scrolls and possibly unleashed Fu Leng upon the mortal world again. The other reason is because of Yogo's curse. Every child of the Yogo family grows up with the knowledge that one day, sooner or later, he or she will betray those they care for the most. As such, for nearly 1,000 years, the Yogo family Shugenja have dedicated most of their time and energies to finding a way to break the curse and free their family from this burden. In the meantime, all that a Yogo family member can do is hope that the curse fulfills itself as soon as possible, and preferably through some relatively minor or harmless way. Because fortunately, the curse of Yogo is broad enough that a betrayal can constitute something incredibly minor, like accidentally injuring someone in a training match, or breaking a cherished heirloom, or causing offense. Of course, this betrayal can also be something terrible and profound, and so every Yogo is warned from an early age never to try and avoid this betrayal, because this only seems to make the curse even worse. As part of the curse, all Yogo become aware of the moment when the curse has been fulfilled, so that they may know the depth of their betrayal. Over the centuries, they've come to take a sort of macabre pleasure in the fulfillment of their curse, as a sign of liberation from the burden that hangs over their entire family. If a Yogo fulfills the curse early in childhood, then the parents consider this a cause of celebration, and will often throw a party in honor of the occasion. Then there are the Soshi, the other Shugenja family of the Scorpion clan. Their specialty is in illusions, and a special kind of shadow magic unique only to the Soshi family, the art of shadow branding. This harkens back to the days when Shosuro, still under her compact with the lying darkness, led the Soshi family herself under the assumed identity of Soshi. For like the 5 elements of regular Shugenja magic, the shadow also has kami of its own that the Shugenja of the Soshi family can invoke. The way that a shadow branding ritual usually works is that there are 2 participants, a Soshi Shugenja and a spy, usually from the Shosuro family. The ritual takes place in a small dark room with only a single candle for light, and the Soshi Shugenja, through complex and forbidden magical formulae, brands the skin of the spy with the essence of shadow, creating a tattoo-like marking that becomes invisible in direct light. Once shadow branded, a scorpion spy can call upon the power of shadow, either to create his own illusions or to conceal himself from his enemies. Abilities that are especially useful for members of the Shosuro family. For while, like the Bayushi, the Shosuro family can function as courtiers, they are mostly known for 2 things: spying/assassination and acting. The former is pretty self-explanatory, and the Shosuro family is famed for its deadly shinobi, which apparently in Legend of the Five Rings is totally different from being a ninja. Ninja are those that are corrupted by the lying darkness, while shinobi serve the empire with loyalty. But then there is the matter of acting. The Crane clan considers itself to be the curators of all the fine arts of Rokugan: music, poetry, painting, and so forth. But like in real-world Japan, and in fact many other real-world cultures, acting is considered a lesser art, fit only for those of lowly station. But to the Shosuro family, becoming a good actor is an excellent way to prepare for becoming a good spy. As such, the Shosuro has an entire school dedicated to teaching its young family members the arts of the theater. Yet another reason why the other clans tend to look down on the Scorpion. And that segues us into the final and most important aspect of the Scorpion clan. And it ties all the way back into that event after the Tournament of the Kami, when Bayushi said to Hante that he would be his enemy. In Japan, there is a style of theater called no theater. One of the most noteworthy aspects of no is the fact that the actors all wear masks. These masks usually represent specific characters and archetypes, thus allowing the audience to have an idea of what is going on the stage and who is playing who. Wearing masks is of course the most famous of all Scorpion traditions. And like the actors in a no theater, the Scorpion clan see themselves as fulfilling a specific role in the politics of Rokugan, the role of the villain. After all, what's a good story without a good antagonist? And that is the reason why every clan, great and small, hates the Scorpion clan. By presenting themselves as dishonorable, untrustworthy, and ambitious, the Scorpion have created this public image of themselves as a sinister, shadowy threat that the other great clans feel that they have to keep a close eye on at all times, lest the Scorpion pose a threat to them or even the Empire as a whole. The fact that the Scorpion clan run the Empire's intelligence service does nothing to help the sense of fear and suspicion and hatred that all other clans feel toward them, and of course, that is by design. This means that while the other clans are busily jockeying for power and keeping one eye on the Scorpion are busy keeping both eyes on the other clans, making sure that they don't get any funny ideas of their own. Remember how I said earlier that the other clans don't understand why the emperors of Rokugan always trusted the Scorpion clan so much? Well, here's a little secret that no one but the emperors ever understood. Of all the great clans in Rokugan, the Scorpion clan are in fact the most loyal. For over 1,000 years without fail, the Scorpion clan has rooted out conspiracies and possible threats to the Empire from within. And the main reason why the Scorpion have remained so loyal to both the emperors of Rokugan and the Empire itself is the fact that, in many ways, they are just as dishonorable as the other clans say they are. The Scorpion have always understood that the best lies have a little truth to them. And the truth is, whenever they feel the ends justify the means, the Scorpion will not hesitate to use the sneakiest, dirtiest, low-down tactics and methods to get the job done. To the Scorpion, honor, pride, and glory are useless frivolities, and virtue is at best a luxury that they can't always afford. Duty and loyalty are all that matters to them. And for well over 1,000 years, that duty and loyalty has been ironclad. The The Scorpion have always been devoted to the Empire above everything else. And as for the emperors of the Hantei dynasty, the Scorpion only ever went against them twice, and both times it was because they believed the Empire was more important than whoever happened to be sitting on the throne. The first instance was in 391, when the Scorpion clan formed a triumvirate with the Phoenix and Crane clans called the First Gozoku, which sought to strip the imperial family of power because they all believed that the emperors had ceased to govern well. The second was the infamous Scorpion Coup of 1123, when the Scorpion clan champion, Bayushi Shoju, was convinced by a prophecy that Fu Lang was going to reincarnate as one of the Hantei emperors. Desperate to prevent that terrible future, Shoju concluded that the only way to save the empire was to exterminate the Hantei family. Admittedly, without going into spoilers, neither of these attempts turned out well for the Scorpion clan in the end. But the point remains. As the Scorpion clan sees it, all of Rokugani politics is like theater. Everyone is wearing masks, and the trick is understanding what those masks are and finding out what the true face is behind the mask. According to the Scorpion clan, their mask is the mask of treachery, duplicity, and ambition. They have spent 1,000 years presenting themselves as the boogeymen of Rokugan, feared and hated by everyone else. But look behind the mask, and they will claim that you will see the true face of the Scorpion as a face of duty and unswerving loyalty to the Empire. Ask any Scorpion, and he would happily sacrifice his life and his honor in the cause of duty. Unsurprisingly, the theme of masks and true intentions is the lens through which the Scorpion perceive the other clans. Having deliberately cultivated an adversarial relationship with everyone else, the Scorpion don't think of the other great clans in terms of can we get along with them or not, but rather how can we defeat them given the opportunity? What are the masks that the other clans wear, and what is the face that they are concealing behind those masks? Let's begin with the Lion Clan. Ask a Scorpion how to defeat a lion, and he will say, study what his grandfather did. The Lion are pompous fools. They go on about honor and pride and dignity, touting them as if they were virtues and pillars of strength. The Scorpion alone have the wisdom to see that such things are but dead weights, preventing the Scorpion from doing what must be done. Because they are great warriors, the Lion think they can threaten the Scorpion. But a lion cannot threaten a Scorpion with dishonor or shame, for such things do not matter to the Scorpion. In fact, the Scorpion take pride in the fact that they are willing to cast aside their honor for the sake of the greater good, that they are the ones entrusted to stain themselves so that the other clans remain clean. The only thing that a lion can truly threaten a Scorpion with is death, and death, to the Scorpion, does nothing more than return them to their ancestors. The mask of the lion is the mask of bravery. As such, it is a weak and flimsy mask, easily torn away to reveal the true face beneath, the face of doubt and fear. What does a lion doubt? Everything. He doubts his lord, he doubts his family, he even doubts the emperor. But most of all, the lion doubts himself. Why? Because the lion is afraid. Always afraid. Like any samurai, the lion highly prized loyalty. Loyalty to lord and family, and loyalty to the emperor. And the enemy of loyalty is doubt. And that is what the lion fear. What if the man they serve, be he lord or emperor, is not honorable or wise? For the character of the master must reflect upon the servant. And if the master is a fool or a coward or a tyrant, what does that say of his vassal? The same holds true for the lion's family. What if the family incurs some kind of disgrace, or fails to live up to the noble traditions that the Lion Clan has built itself upon? And of course, the lion samurai fears and doubts himself for that same reason. What if he should fail? What if he is forced to make some compromise that brings dishonor upon himself and his family? The lion also fear, perhaps more than anything else, the judgment of their ancestors. Every lion samurai is raised to believe that he will be judged for his actions by those who have come before him and those that will come after him. Every time the lion samurai has to make a hard choice or is uncertain as to what he should do, he always refers to his ancestors. What would they do in his place? This, of course, to the Scorpion, makes the lion disgustingly predictable. Unlike the lion, the scorpion goes through life unencumbered by doubt or fear. He knows with absolute certainty that so long as he does his duty, he need not fear the judgment of his ancestors. Next, how to defeat a crane. Convince him that a battle will ruffle his feathers. Simply put, to a scorpion, the crane are a bunch of sanctimonious, mincing hypocrites. Their mask is the mask of refinement. Strip that away, and the true face is one of vice. The lions style themselves as the epitome of nobility in war. The cranes style themselves as the epitome of nobility in culture. But all that artistry, all their paintings and poems and songs, all their beautiful robes and fancy swords and white hair is but a farce. They write endless poems and songs about virtue, but how often do the crane actually practice those virtues? The crane are the wealthiest great clan in all of Rokugan, but while they constantly praise generosity, but very rarely does any of that money go to those who might need it. Instead, the crane use it to, metaphorically, feather their nests. It is spent on expensive robes, elaborate gardens, fine trinkets of gold and jade. And for what? So that they may strut about court in all their finery, and convince themselves just how wonderful and cultured and civilized they are. What of love? The crane are renowned for their love poetry, and yet they are also the most frequent patronizers of geisha houses and other dens of ill repute. Are they looking for love in the arms of a prostitute? Certainly no scorpion has ever found it there. And even if we assume that they are, love is a noble emotion. The crane always say so. Then why are they always trying to conceal their carnal adventures? Where is the need for concealment? The crane accuse the scorpion of being unscrupulous schemers, and there is some truth to that. The scorpion are indeed willing to use underhanded tactics. But here's the thing. Though they would strenuously deny it, the crane do exactly the same thing. The only difference is why. The scorpion do underhanded things in the cause of duty. The crane use dirty tactics only to serve themselves. For a crane to accuse a scorpion of being ambitious, grasping, and power-hungry is nothing more than projection. And therein lies the truth. The cranes say that they hate the scorpion because they are unscrupulous. But in reality, the real reason they hate the scorpion is that the scorpion are what the crane wish they could be. They condemn the scorpion clan for their actions, but in reality, they want to be just like them. But they can't, for if they did that, what would happen to their reputation, their image of refinement and civilization and nobility? And that is what makes the crane so easy to defeat. Merely imply that what they are about to do will harm their image, and they will wilt before you. On the other hand, the unicorn are an entirely different proposition, for they don't really wear a mask. They don't try to hide the fact that after 800 years of exile, they are no longer the Kirin clan they once were. The fact that they call themselves the unicorn now loudly proclaims this fact. But that's not to say that the unicorn aren't hiding something. 800 years is a long time to be away from Rokugan. Who knows what sort of strange and barbaric ideas and customs and artifacts they may have come across in their wanderings. How then do you defeat a unicorn? Simply tell him the truth. Much like the crab, the unicorn clan are direct and honest. You might think that this makes them immune to the machinations of the scorpion, but you would be wrong. For the scorpion know better than any other that the truth can be just as devastating a weapon as any lie. The unicorn are not a subtle clan. They do not play the game of politics like the scorpion do, nor are they ever asked to play. As far as the scorpion clan are concerned, the unicorn aren't even pawns. They are pieces that haven't even made it to the game board. As for the dragon clan, defeating them is equally simple. Make them rely on another's trust. As clans go, the dragon are very isolationist and self-reliant. As such, if you wish to best a dragon, your first step is to winkle him out of his mountainous monasteries and into the real world. Find some way to connect him to the world beyond his constant meditations on the way of Shinsei and enlightenment. because once you do, you will have him on unfamiliar ground, right where you want him. The Dragon Clan know this. That's why they spend all their time in the mountains. They're hiding. They are hiding because they are afraid. Fear is their true face, and they hide it behind the mask of isolation. Unlike the other clans, the dragon do not fear dishonor or shame or death or disgrace or anything like that. No, what they fear is the world. They fear life itself. They fear living. They fear anything that doesn't involve meditating in a monastery, pretending the world doesn't exist. They would prefer to spend their days thinking about life rather than actually living it. They wait and they watch, and the other clans think that it is because they are patient. But the truth is, they're afraid. Afraid to take a chance, afraid to commit to anything, afraid to make a choice. Because making a choice runs the risk of failing. And more than anything else, the dragon hate failing. Whenever a crisis occurs, the dragon don't act. They wait and they watch, and they hope that the problem goes away so that they don't have to make a choice, so that they don't have to risk making a mistake. If all men thought as the dragon did, the empire would have fallen apart centuries ago, simply because they would have allowed it. Then the Phoenix clan. Ah, the Phoenix. How to defeat them? Simple. Make him fight. They spend all their lives in libraries buried in scrolls, studying magic, and they think this makes them wise. The mask of the Phoenix is the mask of enlightenment, a mask that conceals the truth, that in fact the Phoenix are more ignorant than anyone. They study and they learn, but they do not know, they do not experience. If it's not written plainly in paper and ink, then they know nothing of it. That includes the nature of the world, the nature of men, and the nature of the empire. Therefore, defeating a phoenix is similar to defeating a dragon. Get him out of his comfort zone, which is usually anywhere that isn't a library. Of course, the phoenix have powerful magic on their side, but a scorpion would have to be incredibly stupid to try and challenge them in the arena of magic. Better to face a phoenix in a battle where swords decide the issue rather than magic. Better to face him in the imperial court, where incantations are useless against insinuation, wit, and clever wordplay. If a phoenix is giving you trouble, you need do nothing more than put a pretty girl in his path. Then you simply sit back and watch as this wise scholar suddenly starts stammering and stuttering, and soon runs out of things to say. Finally, the Crab Clan. This is actually a tricky one, because you see, the crab, much like the unicorn, are blunt and straightforward, easy to fool and easy to manipulate. But the crab are dangerous in ways that the unicorn can never be. If a scorpion wants to manipulate a crab, he must be very careful to make sure that the crab never discovers that you are the cause of their problems, because the crab are not constrained by courtesy and politeness and discretion. If they ever discover that you are the cause of their problems, they will come after you, and they will not stop until they have crushed you beneath their heels. The scorpion do not fear the crab per se, but they do recognize them as the most dangerous of all the great clans. For what they lack in cleverness, they more than make up for in brute strength and remorseless determination. What's also unusual about the crab is that they are possibly the only clan that the scorpion have any respect for. For all that the two clans dislike one another, they both have one thing in common. Both clans define themselves by their duty. The Scorpion's duty is to protect the Empire from all threats from within. The Crab Clan's duty is to defend against the threats from without, most notably the monsters of the Shadowlands. Their duties are different, but it is duty all the same, and the Crab are just as dedicated to their duty as the Scorpion are to theirs, and the Scorpion are able to recognize and respect that. But of course, in the eyes of the Scorpion clan, that duty is itself the mask that the Crab clan wear. Beneath that mask, you will find only hatred. The Crabs say that they hate the Scorpion because they are sneaky and underhanded, but the Scorpion think they know the truth. The real reason that the Crab hate the Scorpion is that while the Crab are stronger, the Scorpion are more cunning, and though the Crab will never admit it, Deep down in their heart of hearts, they know, as the Scorpion know, that cunning is always superior to strength. And so, this lore video concludes by returning to where it began, with that fresh-faced courtier. Doubtless he knows, for surely others have told him, that the Scorpion are ruthless, underhanded, and devious. Supposedly because of this, he should fear and mistrust them. Certainly he is right to fear the Scorpion, but it's not because the Scorpion are untrustworthy. They are to be feared for precisely the opposite reason. Long ago at the dawn of the Empire, the Scorpion were entrusted with the defense of the Empire against all internal threats. They have eyes and ears in every shadow, hidden blades and poison in every darkened corner. But after all, as long as you are a loyal servant of the Empire, you need not fear the Scorpion. Rouse no suspicion, and they will not harm so much as a hair on your head. But if you ever happen to be implicated, however tangentially, in something that threatens the interests of the Emperor or worse, the Empire, well, you can try to run, but I doubt you'll get very far, for you will be dealing with the Scorpion clan. They are the ruthless, merciless underhand of the Emperor, and their reach is long.